were identified, it led to the contract being stopped so that those issues could be addressed. But by the time it was getting there, already the trials had been done, the pivots had been set up, the first crop had been harvested, and we already had the template on what actually needed to be done, because the contract, the initial contract, was for the first 10,000 acres. The real contract was for the million acres, which was really the target for food production. But as I have told you, that is not the only project we were looking at for food production. And let me also say that even without the implementation of the Galana Gulalu, supporting the farmers as they are today would still guarantee us a situation where we would not be in the situation we are in. Today, for the first time in Kenya, the price of unga has gone to 230 in some cases. It's never been that bad. I must say, as a former Minister for Agriculture, serving under President Kibaki, I am the minister who assembled the infrastructure that provide subsidy on fertilizer. And we saw an increase of 5 million bags of maize when we rolled that plan. When the fertilizer subsidy was cancelled 2 years ago, that is why we are where we are. We are not here because Galana failed. We are here because we didn't do what we needed to do with our farmers the way they are today. What Galana Gulalu was supposed to give us is actually that extra production that would even make it possible for Kenya to export. There is absolutely no reason why Kenya today is spending 12 billion shillings to import maize from Uganda or from Tanzania. We should be net exporters of maize, for example, but we are not. And the reason why we are not is because our agricultural sector is undercapitalized. We have removed the support that farmers always had. And that is why, for the first time, because of the things we didn't do, because of the removal of the fertilizer subsidy, for the first time, the price of unga has gone to 230.
Honorable Deputy President, you say that a lot was done in the first term, and that is why we got to a point where in 2017, we still had rising food prices.
In 2017, it was specifically because of drought. And for your information, the prices of maize flour, went to 140. It didn't go to 230. That's the whole difference.
However, then,
even in the situation of drought in 2017, what the debate then was, 2 kilogram packet of maize was retailing at 140. Today, it is retailing at 230 because compounded with the drought, we just did not produce as we should have produced because we didn't support the farmers the way we have always supported the farmers.
Honorable Ruto, I'd like to speak about another issue that is a contributing factor to the cost of living, and that is the high cost of fuel in the country. What do you propose to do with that? Because there's also a current subsidy in place for that. What do you think is the solution to the rising cost of fuel, which, as you know, drives the cost of a number of other products?
I think the first thing that we need to do is to look at the taxes, because 50% almost of the cost of fuel in Kenya is taxes. I think it's time as a country we looked at, I think there are 15 different taxes on fuel. And I think it's time we relooked at how else do we raise revenue.
Which taxes would you be proposing to remove from fuel, the cost of fuel?
I think majority of the taxes that are in that bracket, I think there are almost 15 different taxes that are there. I do not have the specifics, but those 15, I think we need to interrogate these 15 different taxes. Which ones can we put aside so that, like other countries, we can limit the taxation on fuel?
Okay,
Take for example,
let me
VAT.
ask. Yeah. Let me. Yes. Okay.
Take
Carry
for
on.
example VAT.
Correct.
I think we need to rethink taxation, VAT taxation on fuel. That was the latest inclusion of taxes on fuel. And I think it was very controversial.
Yeah, Honorable Ruto, VAT on petroleum products was indeed controversial. Let me take you back to 2013 when VAT was imposed on this as a condition by IMF. At the time, then Majority Leader Aden Duale said, and I quote, "The 181 members have been convinced by our party leader and our deputy party leader on the rationale of 8% VAT on petroleum products." He went on to say, 181 is a very big number and we will convince our members from the NASA side. So you at this point in the year 2015, I believe when this was passed, were pushing for 8% to be added on VAT. Today, you are saying you want to abolish VAT on petroleum products. Why should Kenyans believe you today?
Why wouldn't they? I mean, we live in a dynamic country, and it's only fools who don't change their mind. If you are in a situation where the price of fuel has gone to 160, I mean, it's time to think. I mean, when this VAT was imposed, then the price of fuel was under 100.
Honorable Ruto, when the VAT was imposed, it was at the time a condition by IMF when we were seeking a precautionary facility. Today we find ourselves in the exact same position with a third tranche of an IMF facility, and once again they are calling for the same issue that we are facing with VAT then is the same one we are facing now. And at the point, IMF has in fact said that we do not need to be removing taxes on petroleum products. So with an IMF facility already in place, are you then saying you are going to go back to the IMF and renegotiate the terms of that loan that is already in place regarding IMF VAT on fuel products?
What's wrong with negotiating with IMF? I think any reasonable government, looking at the situation where we are, looking at the cost of living and how many Kenyans are every day sinking below the poverty line, I think it takes a courageous government to sit down with our development partners, and they are fairly reasonable people, and have a discussion. And I think they are, if not 8%, we need to renegotiate on some of the items that are outstanding. And apart from looking at that, there are other instruments that we can deploy. For example, we have the fuel subsidy fund. We need to think about how that fund is being used, how we are deploying it. Are we deploying it correctly? Is it giving us value? And what changes can be made? We need an open and frank conversation with our development partners who support us. And to the best of my knowledge, they are not unreasonable.